This is the exact system behind my profitable personal brand. It powers 8-figure revenue, millions of views, and high-ticket client flow, all built from content. But here's the truth that no one tells founders. The future of entrepreneurship isn't ads, it's not funnels, it's attention. And if you're still treating content like a side project, you're already invisible. The founders I work with are doing at least $50K to $100K a month, but they are maxed out. Every week feels like survival mode. Content is inconsistent, team asks are piling up, and you don't know what your next hire should be. There's no space to think and no system to scale. In this video, I'm breaking down the infrastructure behind my profitable personal brand, not as a creator, but as a CEO. Every tool, every conversion path, and exactly how to plug it into your high-ticket offer so you can build a business set to scale for the future. You'll have the exact system I used to build what I call my personal media company, a systemized, beautiful, and sustainable personal brand that generates leads while you sleep and gives you complete control over your time, freedom, and income. And the best part, you're going to get the exact blueprint. No theory, no fluff, no BS, just copy what I'm about to show you. Let's get into it. My belief is really that the future belongs to founder-led brands. Founder-led brands simply means that you're one part founder and then you're one part creator. I love this quote that your story is your strategy, okay? Hosting isn't a growth strategy. Alignment is. And what we want to make sure that's happening is that the content that you put out there really aligns with what's going to actually convert people to your business. Because the key thing we want to do here, right, is that as we're building the brand, we want to be able to invest some of those cash flows back into our systems, our product, and our team, so that we don't have to be making that content for the next 5 years and be on some content hamster wheel. We want to be able to go and hire amazing weapons around us, be able to delegate core aspects of the content creation process, things like the posting of the content, the creation, the newsletter, and be able to find amazing people that can do those things even better than we can. And when you've done that, you haven't just built a profitable personal brand, you've built a personal media company. You know, this is exactly what I've built around myself with FounderOS, which is the community that I've built to help founders go and scale their businesses, their brands, and be able to remove themselves from operations. But it's not just me, right? It's people like my good friend Brian Johnson, you know, who is building Blueprint, his own sort of e-commerce company, or, you know, take Alex Hormozi, you know, had him on the podcast last year, building acquisition.com, a more private equity type company. All of us are deploying this sort of system in our own unique ways because this is the future of entrepreneurship. This is how you unlock an insane amount of leverage, which is what you should be focused on as a founder. The next piece I want to show you here is the founder flywheel. We're building a personal brand not to become famous, not to become some influencer or some pure creator or just make AdSense money in YouTube. That's not what this is about. This is about building your business, right? Building an empire around you. You know, for me, a transformative moment was I really realized that as I was growing, I should be more of an investor than entrepreneur. And I started to have this portfolio manager approach where it was me at the top and then all of my portfolio companies underneath me, like Herb and FounderOS. I figured, damn, for the rest of my life, if I could go and compound this asset of my personal brand, I could feed FounderOS, feed Herb with leads, and also feed any potential business I make down the road with leads as well. This is the power of building an amazing personal brand, is that it's an appreciating asset that you own for the rest of your life. That personal brand we're going to use to then feed our business brand, then drive insane word of mouth for our businesses. You know, 50% of marketing is word of mouth. And when you're actually going and owning that conversation, that creates an insane amount of leads to your business. Now, from there, you're getting more and more customers, which is creating a referral flood. All of these people are talking about you online. People are talking about you over conversations, over coffee, drinks, because they're seeing your content on their phone, on YouTube, in a newsletter. You've essentially become omnipresent. We're constantly top of mind and tip of tongue. When you do this right, you become a category champion. right? Someone that people think as the dominant player in that given space. Let's go and get into each aspect of this a bit. On the word of mouth side, right? When you're building an amazing founder-led brand, right? You're going and you're delivering an amazing product and you're generating tons of reviews. The importance of reviews cannot be overstated. People don't buy what you're selling, they buy what others want to buy. And so as you're going and building your personal brand, you want to make sure that you're racking up reviews on sites like testimonial.to, Trustpilot, and any other reviews that are, popular sources of reviews in your industry. And so here you can see, people are constantly saying great things about me, my team, and the awesome work that we're doing at FounderOS. When it comes to customers now, you want to go and obviously make sure that your content that you're putting out there is converting those leads to customers. When you're going and actually putting out content, you want to pay attention, first off, what are people asking you for? Looking at the comments, looking at different responses you're getting from your newsletter. I know that a lot of the founders that I help, they're looking to get more of their time back. And so I'm going to go and create content, whether it's here on YouTube, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it. We're going to create content that gives people proven systems to get more of their time back, because we see that as founders scale, their real desire goes from, just making more money to actually getting more time back, which for successful founders is the real currency. We want to see what content topics really resonate with our audience. And you can do this a lot of ways, right? One amazing way is you can go to your best customers, right? And go and ask them via Typeform survey, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with me? What's your biggest challenge this year? What's keeping you up at 2 a.m. at night? And if you could wave a magic wand, what would you want to have accomplished over the next year? Then you can go and create all of those questions into probably a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet. Go and upload that as a PDF to ChatGPT, and then have ChatGPT go and come up with 100 high converting content ideas for you that go and serve your core market. This is a major hack and something that can help you go and unlock an insane amount of high converting content topics based on actual research from your existing customers that are already paying you. You should have your CTAs, right? And make sure you have the right CTAs across your newsletter, your social media, trainings, free resources, and your VSL. Here you can see, on X, I have, CTAs driving people to my workshops here in my newsletter, right? Over here, on Instagram. So we use a combination of me in the DMs, but as well as we use ManyChat for automations around core lead magnets. Here you can see on YouTube as well, below my videos, I have 2 call to actions. One says, want to scale your business and audience? Go here, which leads to a link to apply to FounderOS. And then the second link here says, want to learn proven systems to grow your personal brand? Go here. And that leads to my newsletter. We want to make sure that across every piece of content we put out there, we have CTAs that lead to the newsletter. The reason why is because you want to own your audience. You don't want Zuck or Musk to control you completely, right? You want to make sure that you're driving people from your rented audience across social media to your owned audience in your newsletter and phone numbers, and then driving those people to either sales calls or sales of your product or service. This is the way, okay? And so as we move along here, right? Again, I want to double click. This works in any business, guys, okay? So if you're e-commerce, health, startups, coaching, courses, agencies, it doesn't matter. The truth is, you would benefit from organic content. You would benefit from having core call to actions. You would benefit from having a massive email list and be able to put out content to an engaged audience of people to not just convert them, but also convert their friends. And so here you can see, this has worked for folks like Mark McLeod, former CFO of Shopify, actually helped raise their seed and Series A. Mark's gone on to be a really successful private equity and venture capitalist, and we helped him double his coaching business. Now, some people will see bigger growth, some less. The point really that I'm just trying to show you here is that this works no matter what industry you're in. Let me just kind of give you a bit of how I see the old model versus the founder-led flywheel. The old model, you would just go and outsource all of your marketing, right? But I see this all the time. Founders have no idea how to market their product, and then they're just outsourcing what I believe is the most important part to just some agency that hardly even knows what they're doing. And they just start blowing money. First time founders focus on tech. Second time founders focus on distribution. And if you don't know how to market your product, you are missing out. The future here is that you actually are using organic content and building a founder-led brand that's built around your values. My values are things like insanely simple, being founder first, and being obsessed with quality. The old model focused on products and ads, transactional sales funnels. The founder is just hidden behind a brand. And I know because I did that for years. The old way was that your team executes and you just disappear. Random content with inconsistent results, no storytelling. So you really have no differentiation in the market. And your growth is just more volume and more ad spend. I see this all the time where founders are just spending so much money on their ads and then they stop working 1 month and then suddenly everything tanks. It's pretty terrifying. So the founder-led flywheel, right? It's a focus on trust, a focus on actually controlling your visibility, building evergreen content, which then leads to high-ticket relationships. The cool thing is that you can start to understand what are your most valuable customers coming to you for, and then simply just make more content that solves those people's problems. The thing here is that the founder is the face, right? You are the competitive advantage, and your systems support, your presence, and you have strategic content, which is really a compounding asset. And the founder story, well, it's a product of your positioning plus, you being a magnet. And growth really comes down to more leverage and more connection. That's really the difference between the old school model and where the future is going. And if you're watching this, I want to really remind you, you have the opportunity to make the decision right now to not go this old model and become extinct, and instead to choose to go towards the founder-led flywheel. So the common misconception that I see, right, is people saying, oh, personal brands don't scale. They depend too much on the individual. That's a load of shit. Personal brands certainly scale. I mean, look all around you, right? When you go and you look at the people you follow on Instagram, do you follow people or brands? If you look at your ex, right, are you following people or brands? Look at your LinkedIn. Are you following people or brands? YouTube, people or brands? People follow people, then they follow brands. This is the way trust goes. And we live in a day and age where, trust is at an all-time low. And so if you want to build trust in your market, you need to be building your own profitable personal brand. And so now I'm going to get into my operating system, okay? This system changed everything for me. Inside of FounderOS, honestly, I've tested this system for the last 4 years on over 10,000 founders. And I've found personally that it works better than ads, SEO, and influencer marketing. None of them have even come close. How this works is as follows, and I'm going to use my own personal media company as an example. Here you can see on X, I'm known there as the systems guy, and over the last couple years, amassed an audience of over 370,000 followers. On X, my content strategy really is based around compelling copywriting, right? I write 2 threads per week, generally on Wednesday and on Saturday. I publish those at 8:07 a.m. EST. Each of those have curiosity-driven CTAs, really compelling hooks, right, that people can't help but scroll through. And this works. This was 1 week on X, driving over 31 million organic views. This is a powerful ass platform and has a ton of opportunity, and it's worth going and growing on. So on LinkedIn, I've become a top voice there, grown to over 819,000 followers. Pretty insane. LinkedIn is a beast, right? Because people are basically using this as like an online professional network. You have some really high quality people, especially if you're targeting business owners. So insane for professional leverage. What you want to make sure you're doing is optimizing your featured section, that you have curiosity driving CTAs that lead people to your newsletter. You want to have long form content. I post there 7 days a week, 8:04 a.m. EST. They're long form storytelling with an amazing hook, long form stories. Then I have a CTA that drives people to my newsletter. So I'm driving people from my rented audience on LinkedIn to my newsletter, and then from my newsletter to FounderOS for those that are interested. And if you're interested in joining FounderOS and learning more, speak to me or my team, you can go and check it out via the link here in the description. When it comes then to each post that you put out, okay, you want to make sure that you go and you have a compelling hook, that you have a high quality image ideally along with it. And again, you're driving everyone back to your newsletter. This has driven me, you can see here in my analytics, over the last 90 days, over 22 million organic impressions, right? And over 372,000 followers. So again, this system works. And the cool thing, guys, is that if you're looking to understand, what I'm currently doing across any of the platforms, you can literally just go check me out and follow me on these platforms. Because the awesome thing about all my strategies, I open source them, they're all public, and the best way to learn from me is literally just to follow me on each of these platforms. And so Instagram and TikTok, I use a very similar strategy. It's a visual storytelling strategy where I'm converting people primarily from my bio or from my DMs through to leads. It's important that your brand's consistent, you're using amazing stories and using your Instagram stories to convert people as well. That you have daily reels, so I post 2 times a day, 1 reel and 1 carousel, and then driving people oftentimes through CTAs to my DMs where ManyChat goes and works people, gives them a lead magnet I'm giving, and then I have either me or my team hopping in the DMs to chat with people there. Here you can see all of my branding, right? It's tight, it's consistent, it's got that sort of freedom, aspirational vibe, beautiful B-roll showing, the places that I'm living in the world, showing me in Bali, Tokyo, the Dolomites, Sedona, Mexico City. I'm generally traveling every few months, and I think, the content we put out there through the B-roll, the imagery, the photography captures that sort of vibe. As we move on here, YouTube is honestly the platform that I'm most excited by these days. I think if you're a founder and you're not making YouTube content, honestly, you're missing out. YouTube is a beast for driving leads, okay? And the reason why is when you think about all the platforms, right? What you're trying to do is build trust. And on YouTube, because you're building so much long form content and there's a visual aspect to it, one video maybe say 30 minutes long, and that's 30 minutes of trust building, right? So you can drive leads fast because people feel confident in you and then they convert. You want to make sure that you have descriptions that are optimized to drive people to your newsletter, as well as convert people to your landing page of your product. You want to play the long game, okay? When I started building on YouTube, I told myself I wanted to make 100 videos that I was proud of, okay? Quality over quantity. Get your thumbnails right, because 90% of your success on YouTube is your packaging. It's your title plus your thumbnail. And you want to make sure that you have an insane value per second. I'm super focused on just making sure that every single second of any video I put out is just mind-blowingly valuable. And so I do this through things like my systems breakdowns, which you can go and check out here and in this video as well. I do it through my real systems demos, just like this video here, where I'm breaking down core systems that I have in my business. Things like my content waterfall system, my content GPS, the most powerful systems, I just give them away to you guys. And so then we're also sharing things like founder mentor sessions. These are actual sessions of me mentoring founders inside of FounderOS, helping them with their brand, their business, scale up, all the kind of stuff that founders get when they're working with me, my C-suite, my core team inside of FounderOS. And so we do about 1 of these videos every single month, and we got a lot more coming to you. The last format that we have are our vlogs, right? Giving you guys a bit of behind the scenes of my life, what it looks like building the online empire that I've built. And my goal there is just, it's kind of like more character development, just so you can get to know me a little bit more behind the scenes, kind of has that more authentic vibe and gives you guys a sense of, what I'm all about. So whether it's me, snowboarding in Japan, or it's me, enjoying life in Bali, just like to open up so you guys can kind of see what it's all about. The key thing here, guys, is just getting started. When I got started, right, I just was getting started dirty, right? I was getting started in a messy way. It was me off my iPhone in my backyard in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. I was just filming whatever I felt like. It felt good. It was fun. I finally was just opening up and sharing myself online. And it felt like years of wanting to go and share. Finally, I was fulfilling this mission, this inner calling that I had. It felt so good. And sure, it was scary. It was uncomfortable. At times I was wondering, what am I even doing here? But oh my gosh, I'm so glad I just stuck with it. And fast forward just 1 year later, we were hitting views over 500,000 views per video. We cleaned up the thumbnails more. We got our aesthetic right. But you can't expect to be perfect day one, right? The thing you want to go and get in the rhythm of initially is that done is better than perfect, because initially you got to get that muscle going of sharing content, sharing yourself. It's going to feel a little weird initially. If you're watching this and you're going, damn, I need to get going on this, go and apply to FounderOS right now. We can get on a call, learn more about your brand, what you're really trying to do with it, and we can help get you started on this right away. Don't miss out and don't let another day go by that you just wish you got started on this. Here, we've just shown you the rented audience side of things, right? So this is all the social platforms, okay? This is kind of your cold audience mechanism side of it. Let me show you what that looks like on the owned audience side of things, okay? This is your kind of content GPS mechanism right here, which is where you're gonna convert consistent content and then nurture people through to revenue, okay? So your owned audience, right, is built through your call to actions, okay? You're gonna put CTAs in every piece of content you have. I funnel both to my newsletter and my main application form on my website. On YouTube, we have CTAs at the bottom of descriptions. In X, we have CTAs at the end of tweets. On Instagram, we have them at the end of carousels, and on LinkedIn, we have them at the bottom of long form content and in the images. We have this across all of our content. And my content, it ranges, right? The overall content categories that I think about are things around personal branding, systems, but getting founders more time freedom, and then helping founders actually live vibrant lives. We're talking about things like, helping you build your appreciating asset around you, which is your personal brand. I interview folks like Alex Hormozy, who's opened up around this, saying that media is one of the most valuable things he's ever built. I talk about the importance of building on a chief of staff to your business so you can go and remove yourself from more of your operation and have that first line of defense in your business so that you don't have to do everything yourself. I've helped Ali Abdal and I help other big names, a lot of the biggest guys you've probably seen across YouTube, Instagram. They work with me so that I can go and really help them unlock a lot of value in their business. You'd be surprised about the amount of creators and founders that despite being successful, they aren't happy, right? They're stuck in the operation, stuck doing stuff that they hate. And I get a lot of joy in helping break down founders' businesses, understand what they're really trying to do with it, and then relieve them from the stuff that's just weighing them down, and then unlock a level of lightness, right? Where they can go and work on the stuff that they probably got into business in the first place to go and do, and then be able to delegate that stuff that just doesn't fire them up anymore. When we're thinking about content, we're generally making content that's highly educational. It's got to be authentic, right? And speak from my actual experience. We're always trying to make stuff that's just insanely generous. We just give away everything, our systems, our playbooks, our blueprints. It doesn't matter, right? We're just giving it away. Because the truth is, if people want, help, which oftentimes founders do, they'll just join FounderOS, right? That's where we roll up our sleeves and are helping founders hands-on inside of there, me, my team, so they can really get the insane amount of correction they need. Here you can see the different things that my content leads to, right? So this is my newsletter, which is the only newsletter you need to grow your personal brand. Again, twice per week, we're putting out value and just giving insane amounts of value to founders, okay? On my short form educational content, I have all of this across LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, right? Just honestly giving people the stuff that I wish I had 5 years ago. The lessons, the mentorship, the systems, the playbooks. I'm just trying to help Matt at 30 years old. I'm 35 now, and I'm just constantly thinking, what would Matt have needed at 30? And that's a lesson for you to think about too. I call that the 5-year test, right? Going and giving value to yourself 5 years ago when you're sharing online. And then I have tons of long form educational content on YouTube, things like how to scale a high ticket offer. I'm giving away full courses for free because, again, my belief is that the more I can help founders, the more that we can build this movement, build this amazing community of people just like you that are changing lives yourselves. And there's this amazing ripple effect that I can have through all this content. Then what you have here, right, is you have all of this content that starts to drive you an insane amount of leads. So those leads that you're driving from your content GPS come down, they're going to go to something like an application page, right? And so this application page is where you generally would have a VSL and an application to then work with you, especially if you're building like a high ticket offer. The conversion hack here is to keep things simple, right? Use a simple form on your website, and that's all you need, right? You can go check out mine at founderos.com/apply. And if you want to join FounderOS, just go through the application process and we'll get on a call. The next aspect is then you go and you get on the call. What we have is this pre-call page, and this page is super important because you want to make sure that people are showing up and they actually know what you do, right? And so we have a pre-call video that people watch that gives people an understanding of exactly what they can expect on the call and what Founder OS is all about. I even have a demo there showing what Founder OS is. So people know what we're about. They can see the community. They can see what we give, the value we have, our Slack, the access to my C-suite, the support, the 50 plus calls per month. They get it, right? So when they show up to the call, boom, they're ready to go. Now, for the call booking, we generally only open up spaces for 48 hours so that when people come in, they're hot, they're looking to talk with someone, and they get on a call ideally within like 12 hours if possible, okay? We get a lot of leads though from organic content, so it's not always possible, but that's what we aim for, okay? Now from there, you're converting people to your magnetic offer, okay? Now, it's important that you communicate clearly what the customer will get. If you create confusion, you will get people to close their wallets. So you need to make sure that you're being crystal clear what you do, what you don't do, who you're for, who you're not for, so that you get people through the pipeline as quick as possible. You want to use testimonials, case studies, right? People buy what other people buy. Make sure you have an insane amount of testimonials like we do across all of our Trustpilot, our testimonial.to, the different case studies we have, the different videos we have of case studies across YouTube. You know, we want to make sure there's an insane amount of proof that we are legit, right? And it's important you do the same. And then you want to make sure that you have all your benefits clearly laid out. And so examples of additional benefits that, we have at FounderOS are things like we have a one-to-one onboarding call. We have mentorship calls, tailored support, detailed roadmaps we give founders. We have founder experiences we run in places like Bali, Sedona, Mexico City. We give founders in-depth business audits, as well as social media audits to go and look at their LinkedIn, their YouTube, their Instagram to make sure they're structuring things correctly. And then we have access to our Talent OS, where we give founders access to copywriters, ghostwriters, content creators, video editors, newsletter writers, executive assistants, chief of staffs. Essentially, you don't need to put up all your job postings and hope you find amazing people. You can go and tap into my network that I've built over 15 years of trial and error, and honestly, trying a lot of people that didn't work out, but I've found a select group of legends that are amazing. And inside of FounderOS, we give people access to that talent pool so that you can go and build your personal media company. So now people are finally becoming a customer, right? And we need to make sure that we leave an insane first impression. So you need to nail your onboarding. Most people are really just looking for that sense of belonging. And what you'll see is when people first purchase from you, we all have it, right? That tiny bit of buyer's remorse, wondering, oh shit, did I make the right decision? So it's your job as a founder, right? As a founder-led brand, when someone goes and purchases from you, show them that, hell yes, you made the right decision, right? And you can do this by making them feel at home, making sure that they instantly are getting connected to 7 friends in the community so they have that sense of belonging, right? You want to go and make sure that you have that immediate time to value, giving them exactly what they paid for and doing it in a good amount of time. They're like, bam, I'm glad I made this decision, right? They're in the community, right? They're getting on Zoom calls with you, your team. They know when the next mastermind is, just like, here's kind of clips from, our Sedona mastermind or LA mastermind or Mexico City or Austin. We're trying to make sure founders know that they have a true partner in crime with us. Our belief, our core value at FounderOS is to dazzle founders. And it's in everything we do. Every email, every message, every video, every piece of content, every tweet, every newsletter, everything. Every interaction is a chance to show founders that we are their best friend. We want to go above and beyond to make sure that they're taken care of. Now, a key piece of this is when you think about onboarding your clients or your customers, you want to make sure that you have an insanely optimized client journey so that people have an unbelievable experience with you. So the key thing to do here then is to map out the journey of your customer, the different things that they can expect. So for us, we're going to instantly help founders go and evolve their offer, build their content GPS, have different accountability calls. We're going to help them with detailed launch plans, set up their VSL, help them launch what they're doing, help review sales calls if they need it, right? This is just an example of what a founder journey could look like. Each founder is different, so we're customized based on what the founder needs, right? There's no one size fits all. But I want you to go and think about what is your customer journey. And if you don't have that mapped out, this is your sign you should probably do that. If there's one thing you can get from this video, it's to get in the details, okay? So that is the delivery mechanism. That's how you create client happiness. And happy clients lead to results, they lead to referrals, and they lead to positive reviews. And obviously amazing word of mouth, which is the flywheel we're about to get into. So when you create not just happiness, but actual joy, right? This is when you can then start preparing clients to potentially be upsold and make sure that you're not just closing people initially, but you're actually expanding your revenue, right? And increasing your customer lifetime value because people are so fired up. They love you and they can see themselves working with you, not just for 6 months or a year, but they're subscribing to the next 10, 20 years of working with you. So we're generating testimonials, tons of testimonials every single month. And you can go and see some of our testimonials if you want at founderled.com/precall. You can see it on our Trustpilot. You can see it on our testimonial.to link. Here's a quick clip from Ali Abdal as an example.
That is freaking phenomenal. I had a long session with him when I visited Dubai because my goal was to go get our business from 5 million in annual revenue to 10 million in annual revenue through high ticket products. And he just did an amazing job of being able to be like, okay, based on all that spiel that you've given me, here are like the 8 systems you need to build. I was like, shit, I didn't realize there were 8 systems we need to build. Thank you, Matt, for the amazing coaching session. And yeah, if you're thinking of working with Matt, you should do it.
Or, here's another clip from Michelle Garabito, a founder that absolutely crushed it inside FounderOS.
When we started, our biggest challenge was that we were charging too low for our process. Now, with the help of my success coach, we've been able to craft a higher ticket offer, create it into an agency of helping people go from A through Z into moving abroad. And now our biggest problem is we can't handle the leads that are coming in. So our goal now is to scale and hire. I'm really surprised at the operation that he has and how it's not aggressive. It's a very soul-based partnership that he has grown here, and I love that. Matt and his team, everybody is just so aligned, so soulful, but everyone is creating monetary results as well.
After you've gone and made your customer super, super happy, okay? They're referring, they're recommending you, they're leaving testimonials, and now you can drive upsells. And the key thing in many businesses is when you drive upsells to your back-end offer, you double your revenue and you typically more than double your profit because there's no additional customer acquisition cost. When you figure out this piece of your business, this is when you unlock an insane amount of value. This is the personal media company, and this is the personal brand operating system, all right? And again, another common misconception that I see is people saying, personal brands work only if you already have millions of followers. It's impossible to break in. That's just some bullshit limiting beliefs. I've helped folks like Leon, who in just 1 month started generating more than his previous year's salary. Now, this isn't everyone, this is not typical, but just an example of what's possible. He's sitting at over 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. Or Zach, right? Who in his time in FounderOS saw an enormous amount of growth, right? And he only had 6,000 followers on X. Everyone gets different results. It depends on your business, your effort, the systems you install, and how seriously you take this. But it gives you a sense of what's possible, right? Let's move on to how I really turn one long form idea into 20 strategic pieces of content, right? Because what we want to do here is maximize output, minimize effort, and this is what I call the content waterfall system. And so here's an example of a long form video I put out just a few weeks back, okay? It was all around how to scale a high ticket offer. And I gave away literally everything that you need to go and scale your own high ticket offer, no matter what industry you're in. If you haven't watched this, it's worth checking out. This was a long form YouTube video. And then you can see I actually broke this into LinkedIn posts, into carousels, okay? It became Instagram posts, a reel, multiple YouTube shorts, and multiple TikTok videos. It became a newsletter that I put out on a Wednesday, and then on a Saturday, I plugged it in that newsletter as well. And it also became 3X threads, okay? And so one video over 20 other pieces of content. This is leverage, and this is how you get off the content hamster wheel. right? By having a system that builds leverage from one pillar piece of content becoming multiple other pieces of content. Now, I have tons of real world examples to show you here, right? I'll break it down so you can see the content waterfall in real pieces of content. Here is one of the most popular videos on my channel: how to build a profitable personal brand in just 30 days. In this video, I share all the details on how you go and build a profitable personal brand really fast, okay? And then on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram, you can see a bunch of different content I went and shared all around building a profitable personal brand, right? And so I was able to take the course script from this video, transcribe it, and then use it into a bunch more pieces of content that those pieces of content got like 10x more views than that original video. So think about all of that additional impressions I'm getting, all those additional leads I'm getting, all from the same piece of content, right? And the cool thing is, I don't even need to make this stuff, right? Nick, my chief distribution officer, Yan, my designer, my team, Diego, my YouTube producer, they go and help create all this other short form content. It's not just that video though, it's this video, how I went from 15K to 8.7 million, my story, right? On X, LinkedIn, and Instagram, we went and shared a bunch more content in short tweets, in threads, and you can see here, 207K views, 1.9 million views, 252,000 views. This stuff's driving hundreds of other leads downstream than the original pillar piece of content I put out. Another 1,000 likes, probably another million views there. Same deal on Instagram carousels. So this just works, okay? And this is exactly what we help founders with inside of FounderOS immediately, is really get this going. Another example here is this video I put out. I'm 35. If you're in your 20s or 30s, watch this, right? This video already has like over 120,000 views. And then across X, LinkedIn, and Instagram, it garnered over 2 million more views, right? Branding principles, I know at 35, I wish I'd known at 21. This generated 100K on X. Same thing with this post, it got 127K, and then this one with 81K. And then across LinkedIn, we're putting out posts around it as well that are garnering a hell of a lot of views and attention. And then same thing on Instagram. This post here got over 6,000 likes, around 400,000 views, okay? So this is content multiplied, right? One piece of content, over 20 other short form pieces of content from it. So insanely powerful. Now, from there, right, you have an offer stack across X, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the Mac Ratio, which is my podcast on Spotify and Apple. My FounderOS newsletter. I have 5-day email courses that convert people to my business. I've converted around $2.5 million in the last 9 months alone. And then I have my workshops, which drive millions of dollars a year as well, okay? So to give you a quick sense here, people join my newsletter, okay? And when they join my newsletter, right, they come from social media, they get on that email page, they then join a 5-day email course, right? And then have a 5-day FOMO series that generally sells them harder on actually joining FounderOS. Okay. And then from there, they just get put into my regular weekly newsletter sequence and may even join a workshop every month that I run. So along the way, right, people will go and apply at founderos.com/apply. If they ever abandon the application sequence, we have email automations that go out there. Similarly, there's a book a call page and a dynamic email CTA on every single email I sent out so that people get dynamic CTAs depending on where they're at in the process. So some amazing automations that we have hooked up. Our automations typically are going on in HubSpot. Along the way, people then will go and get driven to the founderos.com/apply page. They complete the application. When they apply, they go to the founderos.com/pre-call page. And again, along the way, they're getting different emails and text messages from us so that they're showing up to calls, they have context, they're showing up on time, and if they are the right fit, they're joining FounderOS. From there, we use PandaDoc to make sure that all agreements get signed. They get an onboarding call, and there we go. They're inside the community, they're getting the support they need, and they're off and running. Now, along the way, building this personal media company, you're probably wondering, well, am I going to do this all myself? Hell no. I'm traveling, living my life, enjoying the moments, and I have an amazing team that ensures that I'm not in the weeds, right? You don't need to scale chaos. You need a system, okay? And so your team doesn't need to be this big. This is just how I structure my team. But at FounderOS, we want to make sure that founders have an insane amount of support, right? So you're getting access to the same people that have helped me build my personal media company, and I unlock those people for you. My YouTube producer, my brand strategist, my COO, my CTO, my CFO, my creative team, right? So that you can go and get your own personal board of advisors and unlock it instantly when you join. It's people like Sean, who sold over $3.3 million online, Yelena, who's generated over $2.3 million revenue from newsletters in the last 16 months. Claire, my sister, who's my chief of staff, who's been with me for a long time. And before that was 10 years leading marketing across some of the top brands in the world. Or Nils, who's generated over $2 million from newsletters the last year, right? And so we got Don, Diego, Nick, my chief distribution officer, an absolutely legendary team. So this is how to go and build your own founder flywheel, your personal media company, and an insanely profitable personal brand. I hope this has been helpful. If you want access to this entire system so you can just go copy it, you can go and check it out via the link in the description. Also, if you want my help, my team's help, our proven systems, and to join our next founder retreat in Bali, you should definitely apply to FounderOS via the link in the description. You'll get on a call with me or my team. We'll learn more about what you're really trying to accomplish with your brand and then see if we can help you. So go check that out. Welcome to the Founder Freedom Movement. Like and subscribe, and let's win together.